Here's how we're starting to look. So I'm just at the minute trying to establish the height I want to sit at so that I have clearance, and it's looking like I'm going to have to, these wheels are off the ground, but I need to clear this beam here, so I'm just trying to find the height where this guy is sitting on the ground. Then the plan is that we'll be able to do full rotation like this here, all the way around. And I've just got a rope holding this at the minute, but once I figure out the height I'm going to have the chassis sitting at, and all this is playing around with it. It finds where I'm nice. If I take this guy, prop him up like that. So if we look in here, you can see I'm just a little bit low. I think I'm going to lift the chassis up a touch more so that this wheel can clear here nicely with a bit of clearance, and then I'll be happy with that height, and that'll tell me exactly how high I need to build the box here to connect on here. So I'm actually I still haven't got the plate for that, so I might just leave this for the time being because I don't want to make the box until I know exactly what size the plate is. So I think I'm going to move on to the back axle, but I do need to know the height here to make the back axle, because once I figure out how high the chassis is going to be here, I will make the back axle the same. And I'm just going to come along back here, and I'm going to put my back axle in here. I'm just going to do a bit of playing about. There's no set exact place where you should put the back axle. I'm going to measure it up and try and distribute the weight evenly, but I want to try and stay as close to this is really the strongest point here in the chassis, because the support runs back from here and here. So this bar here being the ideal point to have the center of my back axles, and I might come, I'll see how far back from that I can come, and yeah. For cutting the steel, we just use this, it's just a 9-inch angle grinder on a little plunger, and it means that it's got a little clamp here. It means we're cutting 90 degrees. We just got a stool over there and a catcher here, and that's how we cut everything, keeps cut square. That went pretty fast, and you can see here, if I pop into the inside, I've got my axles in. So we've got our 3-inch channel iron. These are sitting 6 foot from here to here, so the wheels are outside of 6 foot, which is good. And this is what they look like sitting out here. So we've welded in this brace here, and then you can see how we welded on our uprights, and now what's left now, I'm going to weld this on here and in here. And really happy now. We're sitting quite high because that was one of the things I wanted to do. I wanted to have good ground clearance, particularly when we're going this long. We're going over undulating ground. We're 2.5 foot high, and that's what I wanted. I wanted good ground clearance. Now, we don't have much clearance with the axle, but that's not the problem, because the wheel will always keep the axle clear of any obstructions. It's when you're going over and there's a little hill that can get caught. So I wanted good ground clearance, and I'm happy. The overall height will be it'll be 10 foot high, or 3 meters, and it'll be 3 meters wide, so it'll be a square, so it's still going to be pretty stable. It's not going to be any different to a truck, so wind or anything won't be an issue. Now you've seen us make all the frames, and now we're just sticking them together. To make it easier for Charlie welding, what we're doing is we're going to weld sections together here. So we're going to weld 3 frames together into a double section. And what we're doing, this is actually the back. You can see the last one has the door section on it. And then we're going to roll the chassis forward and then just drag this over and lift it on top. I'm not sure if I'll need, I've got a little crane hoist here if I need that, or I can get the tractor with the forklift, either or, but we're just going to weld all this together in one section, lift it up, then we're going to weld the front section together and lift that up and then stick the two together and weld it down onto the frame. So we'll look inside. So on the very bottom we've used inch and a half box, inch and a half box, and inch and a half, 3, and then in between these this is 20 by 20 mil box, just to give the floor a bit of extra support. And I've made sure that from the far end up to this one is 2.44, which is a standard sheet of weld mesh, and then I'll put all my 8x4 sheets all along there, and then I'll fill in this section as I go along. On the mid section, we've just put the 20 by 20. We put again 4 sections or 3 internal braces, and again the measurement from this one back is to fit a standard sheet. Now this is going to be the back, and you can see I've left the door out, and I'm not going to finish this off until I get it up on the Eggmobile and I get the nest boxes in, because as you can see this is going to be the top floor here. I want to leave a cutout section where I can come in and stand. My nest boxes are going to sit right here, and I want to be able to come in and collect my eggs. So I'm not sure how much I need to leave of a cutout, so I'm going to leave this piece here missing, and when I fit the nest boxes I'll fit in that piece. But so far really happy with progress. Took us half a day to weld up all the frames, and we spent another half a day doing this much, welding this all together. So well, you're looking at about a day's work, and that includes the other 2 frames there. I'm quite happy with the space that I've left on the lower level. I can walk through here without too much difficulty. I have to crouch down, but I don't really need to be coming in here too often, but it's not too difficult to come in. And these bars here, as you can see behind me, they're going to carry roosts. So I wanted to keep that angled roost for the hierarchy of the chickens. And so we're going to have probably 3 or 4 roosts at an angle. The rest of the roosts then will be running along the ground, like you would see in a conventional chicken house. The trick with putting all this together is making sure you're square, you're straight, and basically measuring diagonals is the best, and also that you're level and plumb, and that everything's nice, and that's the key. I mean, this isn't precision engineering. If we're a little bit out, it's alright, we can make it up here and there. It's just an Eggmobile, but it's nice to keep everything as good as you can, and I'm a bit of a stuffler. I like everything to be perfect, but you can't compromise it taking forever to get it all perfect. As Joe Salatin would say, good enough is excellent. So keep that in mind. You know, the perfectionist can be the death of creativity, can't it? Okay, so I got the plates I needed from a local engineering company. Owen Byrne got it sorted out, and he's cut them and pre-drilled them and everything for me, and he's bolting all the work. This is perfect. They're I think they're, I asked them for them 500 or 600 square. So let me get this guy right. There we go. Yeah, 600 square. So it's 2 foot, and one plate's going to get welded on here, and then we got to put one on the dolly. So what I want to do at this point is get the dolly out, figure out what height I want it exactly, which is going to be a little bit higher than where it's sitting at the minute, and I'm going to figure out how long these uprights have to be here, and we'll get that welded up, because even though I've already started on the top bit, I was just held up because I didn't have these plates. I want to get the dolly and the plates in place so I can take it out, pull it round and round, make sure the dolly works perfectly, and then when I'm happy with that, then we'll start to put the top one up on top. I got our dolly, our fifth wheel, married up, and I'm just dead chuffed how this turned out. You can see we braced our dolly. It's quite high, but I wanted the ground clearance anyway, so I'm happy with that. But as you can see, we can turn 360 with the dolly without fouling, which is great. And when we brace this here, because of the force, the wheels are going to push forward, so this brace on both sides really triangulates it and makes it solid. And then we've welded, so this is the bottom plate from the dolly, this is the top plate, and we stitched it all along there, and that's our 1-inch bolt for pulling it along. Happy days. Really happy with how this turned out. And all we got to do now is start to finish off the frame and get this lifted up. Okie dokie, we're getting there. I'm not really taking track in time because I'm only really doing about a half day at a time on this, just because I'm working down, this is down where my dad's farm is my uncle's shed, and so I sort out the birds and the goats in the morning, come down here, and then I gotta get back up to sort them out in the afternoon, so I do about a half day's work every day on it. So I'll tot it all up at the end, but we now have got all our frames up, and like I said earlier, the reason why we welded them all together down here was just way easier to weld them and then lift them up in two sections. So now we just got to stick these two sections together here. So that's the next job, is to actually fix all these points down to the chassis. So we've got to weld it here, 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 all the way along, and then put in these beams here, and then that's our structure together. And what's going to be next after that, this is obviously, these are the bars that are going to carry the roofs, so we're going to have roofs all along here. All this floor here is going to be weld mesh. I think I'm going to make the top floor weld mesh as well, and then put some ply on top of that because I need a scratch surface for them. So as I move back, you can see this whole section. This is the upper floor here, and I'm going to put, I think I'll put weld mesh because it's pretty cheap, and then put a light ply on top of that, and we'll make, either on the front or the back here, we'll make a door up, we'll make a runway up to there for them. So that gives them 2 floors, so we've effectively doubled the square meterage of our eggmobile. And our nest boxes are going to hang in here, in this section here, and be collected from the back. I'm really happy with how the dolly turned out. It's getting a bit of weight on there now, it's getting a bit harder to turn, but it's going to be perfect for the way I move my eggmobile with the winch. So we'll just come in, hook on our winch dolly on here, and we can turn in our own axis. So that's going to be super cool. So today's work is to get these all stuck to the chassis and get it all put in, all these bars that we're missing. I'm going to have 2 drop down doors, probably here in this section here. I think I'm going to do 2. I think I'm going to put a little door, basically a rectangular drawbridge door here that'll drop down like that, and do the same on that side so the birds can come in on both sides. And then ain't nothing to it but to do it. We've got our structure complete. I slip around the front here. So we've got her all joined up all the way along. Super happy with how it looks. It's going to be a really strong job, and really happy with how stable it is here. When I shake on this, There's next to no movement, which is really happy with. It's very well centered, nice and even. So the next few jobs now I'm going to work on, I need to put in our drawers here and here, and then the nest boxes. But really happy with the setup, and we've welded it down to the axles on every member, both sides. You see, welded it on here, welded it on here, and it's solid, absolutely solid. Really happy with it. And again, it's really steady on the back here. If I shake it, there's next to no movement on it. I'm really happy with the ground clearance. It's going to be super ground clearance. And what I've been thinking on, if I wanted to increase capacity again, we could do like you see on the European models, where we put something from here down to the ground, and that would give us, that would basically increase our floor space by 30% again. And as long as we put in the nest boxes and the roosts and the feeders and drinkers to accommodate that, we could increase our number of birds we could keep in here again. We're trying to take shape here now. I've just actually turned the dolly all the way around. Just gives us more room. We can roll it right up to the door here when we're working down the back. So we've got basically the structure in place. I've just put up a sheet of mesh there to see how it'll look, and it works out perfect, and it comes right up to where I wanted it to go. So I've been working on some of my doors here, and maybe I'll go around the other side, it'll be easier to show you. So this is how we've got two doors. We've got one over there and one here, and it's just going to be simple. Walk down like that. I'm going to connect it up. One actuator will drive the two doors. I'll show you when I do it. It goes a rope from about here straight up, and it'll go over to the other side. The actuator will probably be on the other side. It will be on the other side, and the actuator will run it. And when the actuator runs, this will just lift up, and what I'll do is I'll run the mesh over a little bit, the mesh over past this, so it'll probably stop about here, and there'll be mesh on this as well, and it'll just hit off the mesh, and that'll be it closed tight. I didn't use hinges because hinges seize up over time, and because this is automated, I won't know that it's getting seized. So I just went for some bolts. This will never seize up. There's a bit of just slightly, made this hole slightly oversized, so that'll never seize up, and it'll work perfect all the time. I'm just going to put it will work in the automated. I'm going to put a bolt on the bottom of this, that if I want to close it up, the bolt will come out and it won't go down past that. It's one of the next jobs I have to do. I've also been working on the ramp up at the back here, and you can see this is going to be our ramp up to the second floor, and when the floor's in, this will sit on the floor. But the idea of this is this can then, if I want to go into the eggmobile, and this whole thing lifts up, and it's going to clip in up there. When I have it done, I'll show you, and it'll make more sense. But that'll be the ramp where they can access the second floor. Now when the birds are out in pasture, probably not going to be so interested in going up there, but it'll be in the case of bird flu and so on. So I've got a couple of little bolts to put on to hold that in place. Got to put the bolts on for the doors. And then I was looking at, if I want to tow it backwards, I wanted an anchor point, so I'm just going to put this U-bolt straight through here. I actually got to wait till the cladding goes on. And basically this U-bolt will sit here, and if we want to pull it backwards for any reason, that's going to be our anchor point to pull it from. I got to do now, got to make a door, weld up a door that'll go in here, and I've also got to, I'm more than likely going to be standing here a lot, so I'm going to reinforce the floor here where I'm going to be standing, and then that's a lot of it. I think that's all the welding and the structure done. Then I just got to make our nest boxes. That's going to be a bit of a project. I haven't it all, I have it designed roughly in my head, but it's going to be one of these things that I'm just going to figure it out really as I'm going along. I've got some nest mats here, I've got some of the roller belt, so I'll make sure that it all fits nice. When I'm making it, I'll make one. I'm going to make it in three probably 3 sections, and they're going to be, 2 of them will be 8 foot and 1 of them will be 6 foot, so that I can lift them in and bolt them together. And they're going to hang off, if I jump up here, they're going to be hanging off this line here, this one here, and they're going to hang off that one, quite close to it, so it'll be quite high up, so it's easy for me to collect eggs. And then you'll see it when we put in the nest box. The door that closes the nest box will flip down and create the ladder for the hens to get in.